Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farba. Ukraine's ambassador to Poland, Vasyl Bodnar, is expected to leave Warsaw as part of President Zelenskyy's wider diplomatic reshuffle, while the U.S. ambassador to NATO says a Patriot interceptor co-production deal is unlikely before the winter. Now, the developments come as Ukraine says Russian forces suffered their highest monthly losses of the year in July, even as Moscow continues to intensify missile and drone attacks. Joining us now is Yulia Sirko, a member of the Ukrainian parliament from the Voice Party. Good to have you with us. Welcome.
Hello from Kyiv.
I want to start with the now announcement that your ambassador, Ukraine's ambassador to Poland, will be leaving Warsaw. I mean, it's been a troubled time with bilateral relations. Just tell us, in terms of what could we expect for a new ambassador and how relations could change because of that new appointment?
Yes, actually the Ukrainian ambassador to Poland will be replaced, as well as many other ambassadors, so including Ukrainian ambassador to US. So it's just a big reshuffle, I would say, not only with Poland, but I think we in Poland we need very diplomatic, I would say, approach. So the person shouldn't take any political steps and any political statements. I think diplomats should be diplomats, and I think that we have a room and possibility to restore relations with Poland. We see that the anti-Ukrainian hysteria, unfortunately, had results on everyday life. We see a lot of Ukrainians struggle or had some incidents with Polish citizens, but I think we need to calm down, all of us, and to have to come back to the relations we had before. And I think the next ambassador will be more probably with this approach, with no political statements and political narratives. I think the main goal of the next ambassador will be to restore relations with Poland and back on track in our cooperation, military, business, humanitarian, cultural. We have a lot in common and to do. We have a lot of Ukrainian citizens in Poland, so I think we need to go this way.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, as you said, more diplomacy required, and we'll, of course, be very attentively watching that. I'm also curious, you mentioned other ambassadors being replaced, namely also to the United States. Let's see, part of a wider government reshuffle, new appointment as well. Mr. Umerov as well going to a different role in the government. This follows other things. I'm just curious, as your role is, you're an opposition MP. How would you, let's say, describe currently all these different changes in government? Are you satisfied with parliamentary oversight and all these decisions? What's your take on all these reshuffles?
I think this reshuffle was a mistake, honestly, because at this point of time, when we are in the preparation to severe winter, with no possibility to hit the Russian ballistics, because we don't have Patriots and anti-ballistic missiles. So we need to prepare for the tough winter and for the tough military operations, including, unfortunately, Russia mostly targeting civilians, high residential buildings by ballistic, and peaceful cities. So we need to be prepared on both fronts, I would say. And I think reshuffle of the government is not the best way to do it. First of all, we have a very negative reaction of Ukrainian society against firing Fedorov from the Ministry of Defense. I mean, I'm myself personally, and a lot of people in Ukraine think that Fedorov was very efficient, and I think he was our possibility for the asymmetric war and asymmetric response. That's why the change of the government, who were on the halfway to prepare for the severe winter, and the firing Minister of Defense, it's a big mistake. And I think it will have political consequences for Zelenskyy and Office of President, because people are already protesting for more than 13 days. And I think the protest will continue. Before the Ukrainian people understand who will take over ministerial position in the Ministry of Defense, a key ministry in Ukraine, I would say, at this point of time, and other reshuffles as well, reshuffle of the governmental position, ministries are also very poorly done. So we do not expect, unfortunately, a good outcome of this change of the government, and for sure it will have a political and long-term effect on Zelenskyy and his power and ability to manage government, and he needs to respond to the people protests, because this is not just a small protest for 5 people. It's a huge thousand of Ukrainians came to the streets with a clear message. They want to have more efficient government, more efficient Minister of Defense, and more investment in efficient asymmetric war and response to Russia, which the only way how we can win, actually.
Yeah, and in that also you mentioned about ballistic missiles, and we've seen that, unfortunately, that also Ukraine just doesn't have enough capacity to resist that. That's critical, and I think critical component of that is the Patriot batteries, which also Ukraine doesn't have enough of. Now, the hope was that fairly recently, President Trump had promised there would be some kind of joint cooperation to produce these interceptors, the batteries, jointly somehow with Ukraine, maybe Poland, or some kind of cooperative venture. He's gone out now and said, well, he's not sure. And even now on Fox News, I think this is on August 3rd, NATO's ambassador to NATO, and I'm quoting here, long-term production agreement will not be concluded before this winter. So now we had an assurance. Now this seems to be counter. When you hear something like that, what does that mean to you and to Ukraine? And what are the alternatives here?
I think first of all, it's a very bad news, because obviously lack of ballistic will result in more deaths of civilians, because Patriots and anti-ballistic missiles protecting not front line. This is not a part of the war, I would say. It's they are protecting. It's a part of air defense for big cities and civilian Ukrainians. So more for us, it means more dead kids, women, men, destroyed cities, destroyed buildings, and unfortunately it's very, very bad news. But honestly, to expect that tomorrow we will start producing Patriots or Patriot batteries also was very naive, because this is a very sensitive technology. I don't think that US is sharing it very openly, I would say. They want to be sure that this sensitive technology will not leak anywhere, and as well as actually you need to build a plant production capacity from scratch, and this is not also an easy task. First of all, I don't think that we have to produce it on the territory of Ukraine. I think it should be somewhere in Europe, jointly with other European countries. It could be Poland or any other country, but I don't think it's a good idea to produce it on the territory of Ukraine, because there is no single square meter in the territory of Ukraine where you can hide from the missiles or ballistic or hypersonic missiles, Russian missiles, even on the western borders. So that's why I think it was very naive that we will start production tomorrow. But definitely there are a lot of Patriot missiles around the world. We can buy it. And that's the main, I think, should be main task for all of us, to find it and to buy it for the winter, because it will be, as I said, a very severe and very tough winter for Ukrainian people. And we need to have an air defense to protect first of all civilians, civilian cities. And I think that Patriot and this type of missiles could be found in other countries in the world, and to buy it, but for sure that the U.S. should provide license even for the purchase of these missiles. You cannot buy it without the permission of U.S. So I think this is two tracks in parallel. First, to find it quickly somewhere and buy it, and the second stage is to set up industrial production of the Patriots in Europe to protect not only Ukraine but to be ready to protect European Union if needed. So because this is one of the most efficient anti-ballistic missiles in our time now.
Yeah, and as you said, this war does continue, and this is something that Ukraine needs more of against those ballistic missiles, which are hitting more civilian targets. At the same time, if we're looking at also what Ukraine is doing, more deep strikes into proper Russian territory. We've seen a lot of that over the last few weeks and months. Oil depots, facilities and oil production, certain infrastructure. But we've also seen now recently certain strikes that have targeted Wildberries. So this is essentially the equivalent of something like Amazon to us here in Europe or the United States. Some might look at that and say, well, what kind of military target is that? And we've seen more of those strikes on warehouses. And then also, I just want to get your comment on that and what we've also heard. And we're not fully informed of all the details, but what happened, I believe, just yesterday on Monday with a Ukrainian drone crashing somewhere in South Russia near a beach. There have been some Russian civilian casualties there. We're not sure what exactly the circumstances, but these kind of things tied together. Can you just give us your comment on that?
First of all, we are not targeting Russian civilians. I think this is the joint understanding in political and military in Ukraine that we are not targeting Russian civilians. We are targeting mostly most of the military targets, including Wildberries, which Russians actually using Russian military using to deliver spare parts for drones, for the other type of weapons. So they are using Wildberries as not as a retail or delivery logistic service, but mostly for the delivering spare parts for the military production. So that's why I think Wildberries is legal military target for Ukrainian militaries, and with the accident on a Russian beach, I think it's just an accident, because when the air defense system working Russian, they could actually hit a drone, and the drone could arrive at any point in the city. So that's happening also in Ukraine when we are hitting Russian drones or hitting Russian missiles. The debris are all around the city and can fall wherever you can imagine. So that's why basically there is no surprise that war is war. A war now coming to Russian territory, to Russian citizens, and they have to feel the whole pain of this war, because Ukrainians are feeling it for 4.5 years, and I think the main target of Ukrainian military is to bring war back to Russian territory.
Yeah, and I'll have to jump in there, I'm afraid, Yulia. So yeah. As you said, complicated issues there. But look, thanks for helping us out, understanding all the latest there from Ukraine. That was our guest here, Yulia Sirko, Ukrainian MP from the Voice Party. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
And thank you for watching World Talks, but do stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.